Hi, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Books and Beaches. So it is so rare that I get to film during the day with some, well, kind of sunlight streaming in. So excited. But it is time to talk about all of the new releases coming out in June. And this summer, this is it. There are so many of my most anticipated books coming out in the month of June that I'm so excited for. So we might as well jump in. This is going to be a long one. Like I've said in a lot of these, grab a drink, grab a snack, because we are going to be here for a while. So typical to how I always film these, I'm going to have my computer here. I will give you kind of a quick synopsis, not trying to give too much away and not trying to make us be here, forever and ever. But there are some amazing books coming out in the month of June. And so our first June release date is June 3rd. And like I said, so many great books coming out. The first of which is Julie Clark's The Ghostwriter. Now, I believe I've read one book by Julie Clark, but I know I haven't read the other one. And a lot of times I think she's featured on Book of the Month. But this one looks like it's going to be set in June of 1975. And it says the Taylor family is shattered in a single night when two teenage siblings are found dead in their own home. The only surviving sibling, Vincent, never shakes the whispers and accusations that he was the one who killed them. Decades later, the legend only grows as his career as a horror writer skyrockets. Ooh, interesting. So, and then it looks like we do have a ghostwriter that's going to come in, and it says after 50 years of silence, Vincent Taylor is finally ready to talk about what really happened that night in 1975. So, sounds really, really good. Y'all know I like a good thriller. After that, there is a debut that I found while doing some of my research, and that is We Don't Talk About Carol. And this is by Kristen L. Berry. And it says, a dedicated journalist unearths a generations-old family secret and a connection to a string of missing girls that hits way too close to home. And it's going to be a debut novel. So I don't want to read too much into it, but it says, family, community, secrets, and motherhood. It is going to be gripping and deeply emotional, about overcoming the rot at the roots of our family trees and what we'll do for those we love. So I always like finding a few debuts, and that is one of them. After that, a book that I think I heard Jen at Bookish Blonde talk about, and this is What Kind of Paradise, and this is by Janelle Brown. Now, I'm almost positive I have some books by Janelle Brown on my shelf, but I don't think I've read any of them. So this is a teenage girl breaks free from her father's world of isolation to discover that her whole life is a lie. And it's going to, be twisty, sharp coming of age story for our strange techno-utopian times. So, and it's very true. So I'll be kind of curious what that one comes out. It said it's going to be sweeping and suspenseful. And a young woman is going to be on a quest to understand how we come to know ourselves. So there is that one. After that, an author that I want to say is typically more on the YA side. And this is So Happy Together, and this is by Olivia Worley. Now, I think I've talked about her before. I can't remember if I've read anything before. And it says, Jane and Colin are soulmates. He just doesn't know it yet. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, and this one maybe not so YA because it looks like our main character is 24, and it is going to be unrelentingly twisty and utterly compelling. It is a riveting blend of Riley Sager, and Promising Young Women. So a little twisted in all of those. And it looks like we're going to have, the guy is dating somebody else, the girl's kind of stalking him, but then she's going to make some kind of discovery. So super twisty. And y'all know I love Riley Sager. So another book that I am so excited to talk about is Battle of the Bookstores, and this is by Allie Brady. Now, I think I have read all of the other books that Allie Brady has written, and I really, really enjoyed them. And I am currently waiting on this one to come in the mail to me because I have had the opportunity to be part of and of course I'm going to forget what it was called, but it was kind of, they had a bunch of arcs and then they created a bunch of teams, and the book is like slowly making it through, like, I think it's like a 10-person team. And so this book is coming to me. I know it was mailed yesterday, and I just can't wait. And then I think I have like 1 or 2 more people that'll get it after me, and everybody's taking notes and it's so excited. But anyways, Allie Brady is an author duo team, and this book says it's going to be rivalry, there we go, and romance spark when two bookstore managers who are opposites in every way find themselves competing for the same promotion. So if I'm remembering correctly, it's like two people own the bookstores really close to really near each other, but only one lease is going to be renewed, and so they're trying to figure out like who's going to get it. And of course, I think, you know, I want to say it's compared to You Got Mail, maybe, because it says the rivalry is heating up, but their online relationship grows. So yeah, I think there's some sort of like communication going on online. And yeah, so, you know, cutesy love story. And I've loved kind of everything that Allie Brady has put out, because not only is there some sort of love story involved, but there is usually some sort of like deeper problem going on too. So after that, we have Eat, Post, Like, and this is another debut by Emily Arden Wells. So not another one by her, but another debut on this list. And so it says this is going to be a novel of self-discovery, resilience, and culinary adventures. And they're going to go from New York to Italy to Paris. And it will unravel the secret of life of lost love. So I just thought that was like really, you know, a capturing title there. And and also the transformative power of food. So now it kind of makes me think of Eat, Pray, Love, which I know is Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand's favorite book, but this one looks like it could be just kind of a cutesy, you know, discovery story, and I love a good debut. So, and if I haven't mentioned it already, all of these will be linked down below, excuse me, if you want to see more about them. After that, we have The Other Side of Now, and this is by Paige Harbinson. And it says it's going to be a hilarious and heartfelt novel about how loves and lives are never truly lost. And it's going to be for fans of Rebecca Searle and Taylor Jenkins Reid, which definitely caught my eye because I like both of those authors. And it looks like we have somebody that is, you know, working on a hit TV show. She's in a relationship with like kind of like a Hollywood star. And, you know, she apparently like has everything she ever wants, but it all seems to be fake. And so I'm thinking it says she's going to get a once in a lifetime opportunity to connect with somebody in her past. And yeah, like she's kind of going back home, and we'll see what happens. So like I said, keep it as short and sweet as possible because this one's going to be a long one. After that, we have another debut. This is a good month for debuts. And this is called A Family Matter. And it is by Claire Lynch. And actually, this is a read with Jenna pick, so that's kind of cool for a debut. And it says a young wife following her heart, a husband with the law on his side, their daughter caught in the middle. 40 years later, a family secret changes everything. And that's a quote from Ellen Hildebrand. So, and I love Ellen Hildebrand. It looks like this one is going to be multiple timelines. We have 1982 and 2022. And it is going to be a heartbreaking and hopeful exploration of love and loss, intimacy and injustice, custody and care, and whether it is possible to heal from the wounds of the past that changed the world of today. So, love that. And I feel like, you know, some of those more celebrity picks sometimes can be pretty good. So there's that. One that I know everybody is talking about, and I am so excited for because it has been a while. And this is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. Have been some of my favorite books that I have read probably in my lifetime. And so this is her newest debut, and this is going to be set against the backdrop of the 1980s space shuttle program about the extraordinary lengths we will go to live and love beyond our limits. So I don't even want to know too much more. I will read basically anything I think Taylor Jenkins Reid puts out. I am almost done reading her backlist. I think I have Carrie Soto left, and then I've read everything. So cannot wait for this one coming out on June 3rd. After that, we have a book by Jessie Cusintanto, who I love reading. She's got a lot of both YA and then some cozy mystery, and then she's got like actual, you know, more mystery suspense books. But this is book 5 in the Meant to Be series, and this is worth fighting for. So I don't think I've read actually any of them in this series. Oh, okay, I see what it is. So this isn't necessarily a series by her, but it's a series of 5 books. So one is If the Shoe Fits, Buy the Book, Kiss the Girl, Tangled Up in You, and then Worth Fighting For. So the other books were written by Julie Murphy, Jasmine Guillory, Zoraida Cordova, and Christina Lauren. So this is like the 5th book in that little mini series. I did not realize that. So that's kind of cool. But it looks like you will laugh and swoon. Oh, and it's a Disney's Meant to Be collection. Okay. So she, let's see. It says Mulan's ready to get down to business, but when it comes to love, she hasn't got a clue. So I guess I didn't realize like all of the other ones were Disney based and this is Mulan's story. So very cool. And I will make sure to link that whole collection below. And then last but certainly not least of the ones that I found coming out on June 3rd is 50/50 by Steve Kavanaugh. And I know I have this one in NetGalley and I'm so excited to get to it. With everything going on, I've just been a little behind. And this is part of the Eddie Flynn series, but from my experience, you do not have to read this series in order. I have read 13. I had to look at it. It's back on my shelf over there somewhere. And so you can kind of just read these, but it's all surrounding around, you know, our detective Eddie Flynn. And so, or not detective, is he a lawyer? No, I can't remember. But anyways, it says 2 sisters on trial for murder. They accuse each other. Who do you believe? And it's going to be very wickedly clever. So not gonna read too much more, but those are all the books that I found coming out on June 3rd. All right, our next release in June is June 10th. Actually the day before my birthday, but this date has some amazing titles coming out. The first of which that I found was The Bachelorette Party, and this is by Camilla Stern. Love this cover. And it is Scream Meets the Guest List. Guest List was by Lucy Foley. Love that one. In this wickedly compelling and compulsively page-turning thriller of friendship and murder. So, oh, and it's gonna be on a remote island. Y'all know that's kind of a thing for me there. Off the coast of Sweden. So we have 4 friends, Tilly, Anna, Linnea, I think, and Evelina. And so it's kind of something they do. They meet every year, but it says one night of reckless fun and secret sharing, and then they return to their normal lives. But it looks like we might have, you know, a 10 years later timeline. So might be bouncing back and forth, but the last tagline on here says it's someone else's last chance to get revenge. So don't want to do much more. You know, I like to go into my thrillers a little bit more blind, so to say. So there's that one. But this next one, oh, am I so excited. And this is King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. I have loved, I think, every single S.A. Cosby book I have read. I screamed because I did end up getting this one on audio from NetGalley. I haven't listened to it yet, but it's like, I think it's going to be this last book I finish in May here. And because Adam Lazara White always reads all of S.A. Cosby's books and he's so good. But anyways, let's hear about what this one is about. This is going to be a Godfather-inspired Southern crime epic and dazzling family drama, which I feel like is pretty along the lines of what S.A. Cosby does. And so, looks like we have a son that's being summoned home after his father was in a car accident. He finds out his brother is like indebted to some, you know, dangerous criminals, and his sister is like trying to hold the whole family together. It says mortality draws even closer when it becomes clear that the crash that landed their father in a coma was no accident, and the brother's recklessness has placed them all in real danger. I don't want to read anymore. S.A. Cosby's books always tend to be very dark, very violent, and you know, you might want to check some trigger warnings typically, but I just have loved every single one. So I cannot wait for that on June 10th. And then following that up with another one of the most anticipated books that I have of this year, and that is With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. Now, Riley Sager has come out with books, I feel like, every summer the last couple of years, and while some of them could be hit or miss, I have loved most of them for the most part. And so this one says, one train, no stops, a deadly game of survival and revenge. So, we might have a timeline in 1942. It says 6 people destroyed Anna Matheson's family. 12 years later, she's ready for retribution. So, you know, probably a story with, you know, some comeback revenge type of stories. And it says, before the train reaches its final destination, Anna is forced to hunt the killer in their midst while protecting the people she hates the most. In order to destroy her enemies, she must save them first, even though it means putting her own life at risk. So I always look forward to a new Riley Sager, and this one might have to be a birthday present to myself. After that, another big name author coming out with a book in the, mystery genre, and that is Kill Your Darlings by Peter Swanson. I am nowhere near ready to read all of Peter Swanson's books, but I certainly have enjoyed the ones that I have. And this one says it's going to be more of like a clever murder mystery, and it's told backwards, asking the question, why would this loving wife murder her husband? Interesting. All right. So it says, this is an inventive, utterly propulsive murder mystery in reverse, tracking a marriage back in time to uncover the dark secret at its heart. So I don't want to read too much more. Leave y'all hanging a little bit, but like I said, these will be linked below. After that, I found another book coming out, and like I said, I always kind of like to make these a little bit diversified, and this one is called Far and Away, and this is by Amy Papel, I think. We'll go with that. And it says, this is going to be about a house swap gone wonderfully weary. So I don't know about you, but I feel like some of my TikTok lately has been like old clips of like when they used to do wife swap. So then when I saw the, description for this book, it just made me giggle because I feel like that might be, some of it. But it says perfect strangers Lucy and Greta have agreed to a house swap, and boy, are they gonna regret it. So I do not know what we're going to kind of get into here, but it says, there could be some jet lag, culture shock, suspiciously nice neighbors, and scandals that refuse to be left behind. So I think that one sounds quite interesting. After that, we have a debut, another one. Like I said, there was a lot of those that I could find, but this one caught my eye, and it is Great Black Hope, and this is by Rob Franklin. So let's see here. It says a gripping, elegant debut novel about a young Black man caught between worlds of race and class, glamour and tragedy, and a friend's mysterious death and his own arrest. And so, kind of a new voice here. So I still think, it's still a novel, so it's not nonfiction, but just kind of a really great way to kind of diversify some of the things that we're picking up. So there's that one. After that, another one that I believe I heard Jen, Bookish Blonde, talk about, and this is The River is Waiting by Wally Lamb. Now, I have never read anything by Wally Lamb. I think Jen was saying she had some on her shelves, but she hadn't read it yet either. But this is going to be, let's see, a young father who, after an unbearable tragedy, reckons with the possibility of atonement for the unforgivable. So I want to say, I'm assuming Wally Lamb writes kind of more like hard-hitting literary stuff, but don't quote me on that. If you know better than I do, please let me know in the comments below. But let's see. We have a father who has lost his job. He has a growing secret addiction, and he's kind of like throwing his marriage into a tailspin. And he's actually sentenced to prison. So yeah, we will have to see about that one. After that, we have one that caught my eye because I was like, I feel like I can relate. And this is Confessions of a Grammar Queen by Eliza Knight. So I'm not necessarily like a grammar queen, but I do notice certain things. Not that I'm perfect at it, because I know in one of my last videos, I kept talking about things being written in prose when I actually meant verse. Unbelievable. But this says there are no female publishing CEOs in 1960s New York, and that is exactly what savvy, ambitious Bernadette Swift plans to change. So I think, we're going to have, this book written in like the publishing world, set in the 1960s, and what buttons and, glass ceilings, I guess, can she push? So looking forward to that one. After that, another one that I know a lot of people are looking forward to, and this is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, and this is by V.E. Schwab. Now, I don't believe this is part of any series, but very popular author. I think I've only read one thing by V.E. Schwab, and that was The Incredible Life of Addie LaRue, or The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And this is going to be a genre-defying novel about immortality and hunger. Ooh, so, definitely we're set in 1532 in Santo Domingo de la Calzada. I'm not a native Spanish or Portuguese speaker, so sorry about that. But, and then, a couple other timelines. 1872 in London, 2019 in Boston. So it says it's a story about life, how it ends, and how it starts. I don't want to know too much more, but that could be a V.E. Schwab that I see myself picking up. So it'll be linked below. And then last but certainly not least of books that I found coming out on June 10th is A Dance of Lies, and this is by Brittany Arena. Now, I believe this is another debut, and it is a fantasy romance, which I know is getting, so much more popular, filled with hope after heartbreak, secrets and betrayal, and it's a dancer turned spy, so the dancing piece is what caught my eye, must decide how far she will go to secure her freedom. So definitely caught my eye, I love a good debut, but it caught my eye with the dancing pieces and things like that. So I'm slowly getting into, some more fantasy and stuff like that. So this one may be one that I pick up. But those are all the books that I found coming out on June 10th. All right, our next release date in June is June 17th. And once again, we've got some big names in publishing coming out on this date. The first of which is Don't Open Your Eyes, and this is by Liv Constantine, which I believe is another author duo. And I have read The Last Mrs. Parrish, I believe. Anyways, I haven't read the sequel to that one, but I've been meaning to. And this says it's going to be a twisted psychological thriller, which y'all know I love a good psychological thriller. And it is a woman tormented by nightmarish visions of her future, and then they start to come true. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Terrifying. And let's see. So it says our main character, Annabelle, has everything she's ever wanted, a devoted husband, 2 wonderful daughters, and a career she loves. She couldn't be happier. So why is she being plagued by these really disturbing dreams? She first thinks it's her imagination, but then details of her dreams she couldn't possibly have predicted start to materialize, start to happen. And she realizes they aren't just dreams, but rather premonitions of a terrifying future. So I think we're gonna have to see what is going to happen and how she's going to deal with this. So there's that one. Looking forward to. Another one where I've seen a couple people talk about this, and this is I Did Warn Her, and this is by, I think it's Cyan Gilbert, and the quote here says, "This is Below Deck," which is a show on Bravo that I love to watch. I don't know why, because they all seem to be the same, but I love Below Deck. But it is Below Deck with a body count. I like that body count. And it is intricately plotted and devilishly dramatic with a claustrophobic setting and a final twist to kill for. And that's a quote from Sarah Oakes. But it says it's going to be a luxurious yacht, a gorgeous crew with secrets and rivalries, which is very Below Deck, and murder. So it is a cunning locked room mystery set on a billionaire's yacht. Goodness gracious, I can't talk. That sounds right up my alley. This is one that I'll probably have to be adding to my cart because now I'm super intrigued. But there's that one. After that, another author that I have heard a lot about, and this is Someone Knows by Vi Keeland. This is going to be an English professor's deadly past comes back to haunt her in, it's calling it a chilly and sexy thriller. Maybe some possibly, not necessarily dark academia, but we do have the college setting. And so it says she looks forward to starting a new semester, teaching creative writing, at least until she reads the chapter of The Reckoning, a tale about a high school senior who has an affair with her teacher. To anyone else, it would be the beginning of a great page turner, but to Elizabeth, it is the beginning of the end. So she's like, she knows the story, she lived it, the girl in the story was her best friend, and she knows how it'll end with the professor dead. So I think, someone's trying to let her know she knows, and we will see what happens from there. After that, we have what I'm thinking is going to be more of a romantic comedy, and this is The Ripple Effect by Maggie North. Now, I thought this cover was fun. I love a good outdoorsy cover too. And it says a grumpy, burnt-out physician and a sunshine psychologist must fake an engagement. So we have the grumpy sunshine, fake dating / engagement trope to save his whitewater canoeing / relationship therapy startup and it's her second novel about starting over. So that's a lot in one little description. But let's see, I think we all know how a lot of these go. We've got that fake dating turns probably real dating, but you got to add, a few feel-good books on this list that is clearly full of a lot of thrillers. So there's that one. Another one coming out from an author that I think a lot of people really like. I don't have much experience with, but this is Sounds Like Love from Ashley Poston, and it says, a hit-making songwriter and a bitter musician share a startling and inexplicable connection. They'll do anything to shake. So it's named one of the most anticipated books of the summer by People, Marie Claire, E! News, and a whole bunch of other things. So it looks like, why are these two people being drawn together? So I will have that link below if you want to look at that one more. After that, another one that I believe I got on NetGalley, and I was very, very excited because I did enjoy reading the first book that this author came out with, and that is this is The Poppy Fields, and this is by Nikki Erlich, who, for many of you know, probably, I know my book is somewhere. It's yellow, it usually stands out, but it was The Measure, and so this is her newest book coming out, and this is going to be, let's see, a tender exploration of love, loss, and the echoes of a memory. So it says, what if there were a cure for the brokenhearted? Very perplexing question, and I would agree. What if there were a cure? So it says, welcome to the poppy fields where there's hope for even the most battered hearts to heal. Looks like we're set in California, and this is going to be a high concept speculative novel about heartache, hope, and human resilience. So, more of a hitting topic similar to what I feel like The Measure was, because The Measure asked a lot of questions that I don't think we normally talk about. And it says it's going to explore the path of grief and healing, a journey at once profoundly universal and unique to every person, posing the questions, how do we heal in the wake of great loss? And how far are we willing to go in order to be healed? So very, very interesting. And I cannot wait to see, kind of what journey that one's going to take us on. After that, another historical fiction author that I think a lot of people look forward to reading. And this is The Stolen Life of Colette Marceau. Gosh, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sure it's French, but this is by Kristen Hormel. And I have really enjoyed the things that I've read by her in the past. I am by no means done with her whole backlist, but I have enjoyed those. And this is going to be an electrifying new novel about two jewel thieves, a priceless bracelet that disappears in 1940s Paris, and a quest for answers in a decade-old murder. So kind of a little bit of everything wrapped into one. So I think, we're going to have this timeline in 1942 and when a lot of this is happening, and clearly 1942 is in the midst of World War II, and especially with the effects that it had on Paris. But I also believe we may have a timeline 70 years later, and kind of everything that happens from there. So definitely looking forward to that one coming out. And then last, certainly, but not least, that I found coming out on June 17th is The Farmhouse. And this is by Chelsea Conrat, I think. Probably saying that wrong. But this one I think I found on like a list of horror books, but it says, every woman who has lived on this farm has died. Emily just moved in. Terrifying. So when her mother dies and her husband, she said it's finally time for her and her husband to leave San Francisco. A farm in rural Nebraska is everything they want for a fresh start. Clear skies, low cost, and distance from the grief back home. And then the tagline says, they should have asked why the farm was for sale. I don't want to read too much more, but like I said, I'm pretty sure I found this in the horror genre, and something tells me it's going to be creepy. So those are all of the books that I found coming out on June 17th. All right, last but certainly not least, we have our final release date in June, and that is June 24th. So just a few more books to talk about. I know this one has been a long one, but so many good releases. Starting with Lisa Jewell's newest book, and this is Don't Let Him In. So this says, we're going to have 3 women are connected by one man in this kaleidoscopic thriller. It says, he is the perfect man. It's a perfect lie. All right, I'm intrigued already. So it says we have Nina, Martha, and Ash, and they are going to be on a collision course with a shocking truth that is far darker than anyone could have imagined. And all 3 are about to wish they had heeded the same warning, don't let him in, but the past won't stay buried forever. I don't want to know too much more. I've really enjoyed everything I've read by Lisa Jewell so far, and I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Another author that I have read before, and it's been a little hit or miss for me, but that's okay. But I, for the most part, have enjoyed what they've written, and this is El Dorado Drive by Megan Abbott. And it says this is going to be a simmering, atmospheric novel of friendship, betrayal, following a women-led pyramid scheme in suburban Detroit. Now, I don't know about any of you, but in some of my free time, I do watch a lot of like MLM, pyramid scheme, like YouTube videos, and just people that like dive into all of the craziness that those involve. And so when I read the description of this one, I was like, ooh, I cannot wait to see what they do with this. But our tagline here is, all I want to be is innocent again, but that's not how it works, especially not after the wheel. So, you know, I love going into my thrillers a little bit blind, but this is, you know, women and money, a riveting story about power, vulnerability, and how desperation draws out our most destructive impulses. So, definitely gonna have to check that one out on the 24th. After that, we have a book that caught me by the name for sure, and this is Finders Keepers by Sarah Adler. I believe this one's gonna be more of a, you know, feel-good story, but let's see. It says we have 2 estranged best friends that find their long-abandoned treasure hunt might be the key to a fresh start for both their futures and their feelings. So I'm assuming, and actually I want to say these best friends might be like former best friends. This could be best friends turn relationship type of thing. So yep, I think it is like 2 like male-female best friends, and I have a feeling we could probably know where this one is going, but there's that one. After that, we have another book that I must have just kind of stumbled on while I was researching this, and this is Sunny Side Up by Katie Storino. And it says our author actually is a body acceptance advocate and a Megababe founder, which I think, is that like, I think Megababe is like the Glide stuff, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is going to, oh, it's a debut, so she's never written a book before. Okay, see, these are some of the things I discovered with you all, because if I tried to remember all of these pre-filming, it would just never happen. But we have a main character that's 35, recently divorced, and facing the looming prospect of going solo into her little brother's wedding. Well, if that's not fitting. For those of you that don't know, I am 37 and I'm going single to my little brother's wedding this weekend. So that one found me. But, and so she is trying to find anything plus size in the Bergdorf Goodman swimsuit department that doesn't make her want to cry. It's not going well, but it isn't rock bottom, the perfect place to start a climb. Okay, that's so funny because I feel you, girl. Plus size woman. Anyway, so I don't even want to read too much more into this one, but I feel like this book definitely found me. So, but this is going to be a Carrie Bradshaw for the next generation and her journey through the trials and triumphs of dating, friendship, and finding yourself. All right, yep, that one's probably going in my cart right away. Thank you for journeying with me on that one. After that, I feel like when I read about this book, I definitely had to put on this, and this is The Accidental Favorite and by Fran Littlewood. And so when I read the brief description about this one, I was intrigued. And this one says it's going to be a deeply moving family drama, or dramedy, it says, so drama comedy, investigating the question so many of us have asked ourselves, do my parents have a favorite? So when I saw that, I was like, okay, I need to look more into this one. I need to be able to link this one in my video. And so it says, this is going to be an examination of memory, sisterhood, and family ties. You know, it says, this author is going to remind us why it is that people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. So, like I said, the description caught my eye. I had to add it to this list. After that, we have a book called Happy Wife, and this is by Meredith Lavender and Kendall Shores, so dual written. And it says, a young woman must find her missing husband and prove her innocence in this twisty, unputdownable novel set in an ultra-wealthy Florida community where looks can kill. So I remember reading about that when I was like, ooh, this one sounds like it could be quite fun. Love something that's set in Florida, and yeah, you know, those like crazy sometimes neighborhoods where I'm sure a lot of stuff gets hidden. But it says it is going to combine breathless suspense, glittering and juicy social dynamics, and an unforgettable cast of characters. It's going to be clever and submersive novel that explores marriage, wealth, and the secrets that lurk behind closed doors. So definitely wanted to add that one to the list. And then last but certainly not least of all of the books I found coming out on June 24th was The Compound, and this is by Aisling Rawl. It says, nothing to lose, everything to gain, winner takes all. So, this is also a debut. Forgot about that. But it says, Lily, a bored, beautiful 20-something, wakes up on a remote desert compound alongside 19 other contestants competing on a massively popular reality TV show. To win, she must outlast her housemates to stay in the compound longest while competing in challenges for luxury rewards like champagne and lipstick, plus communal necessities to outfit their new home like food, appliances, and a front door. Definitely an interesting topic, things I feel like would not be very far-fetched to see on TV now, but this is going to be a major new voice in fiction, and it's going to linger in your mind long after the game ends. So definitely wanted to feature that one. But those are all the books that I found coming out in the month of June. As I always say, this is by no means an exhaustive list. There are probably plenty more out there, but there's only so much time in a day. But let me know if any of these sound, good to you. Are there any other books that you know coming out in June that we should know about? Feel free to leave those in the comments below. If you don't feel like leaving one of those comments, feel free to leave like a stack of books emoji and just let us know that you were here, because clearly there are a ton of books that we are all looking forward to coming out in the month of June. So, as always, if you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.